So yeah, I'm gonna do a presentation of some of the images that I've made in Eskebheni or in and around Eskebheni, because there are neighboring communities such as Umzinyati. Amatabetulu is pretty much the same place. So yeah, so my topic revolves around water apartheid, and I will share some light on why I even use such a term. All right, so first thing, actually, I just realized in doing this presentation, the importance of actually having an online drive. Some of the images that are in my head that I know for sure that I made, I couldn't find them anymore. So yeah, lesson learned. I need to start storing images
That's what CAP's about
online.
too.
Yeah.
That's really our whole mission. Yeah, it's to make sure we look after the archive. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so I've turned my computer upside down trying to find them. But here are the images that I'm going to be presenting here that I feel do carry pretty much the gist and everything of the story and what I do. So I live in Eskebheni, which is a community located in Inanda, near the Inanda Dam. As you can see here in the picture, that's Inanda Dam right there. And this picture was taken on the Umzinyati side. This is just after the floods of 2022. As you can see, a bit of destruction right there. So my community of Eskebheni is around there, if you can see, right? So this is the type of housing that exists. And then this image here was taken in Eskebheni, but more specifically at a place called Matabetulu. Matabetulu is famous for the Shembe Nazareth Church. So here is actually up the hill. And so behind me, as I'm making this image, is the direction you would go if you're going towards the Shembe Nazareth Church in Eskebheni. That's a school right there. Yeah, it's a hilly place. It's not that bad. This is another image, specifically now Eskebheni, on a certain side of Eskebheni. There's a church there, there's a tower there. And then this is another image that I like because it really shows that we are surrounded by another dam. So that's the dam right there going around and coming this side, right? That's a school up there. So why would I even be showing such images? It's because we are so close to Inanda Dam, the Inanda Dam that is pumped up through Kloof, Hillcrest, all the way to PMB, right? Yet we live here and we do not have tap water. So the irony of that we live so close to Inanda Dam, yet this community here is starved of water access through taps because taps are more sustainable than any other systems of water delivery. So let me come out here. So our water delivery processes begins here. This is what we were given as a choice. So basically, after being displaced by Inanda Dam, this community had situations whereby they were drinking and using water from Inanda Dam, but it was not purified. Obviously, there was an outbreak of a cholera disease, and then they decided that in this area, they're going to try and implement these gray tanks. So this stands on your yard per household. and water comes into the tank. I could have played you an audio file of how it sounds like, because those were things I actually did, even just trying to get the ambience of the experience here. So water comes in here, it gets full, and then people can turn a tap and use it. So this is the only tap system that we've had. What you're seeing here on the right is 3 gray tanks of similar nature here or similar design, which means these are 3 households basically placing their gray tanks here, waiting for a water tanker to fill them up. All right. So they have been unplugged. Why they've been unplugged? Because the taps have gone dry, the pipes have gone dry, they're no longer receiving water. So in a quest to have as much water into the household, pretty much everything is used, all containers are used. Why leave this one here plugged when there is no water coming in at all? So might as well unplug it, take it to the streets and wait for the tanker to fill it up. And then you transport it back to your house, right? So these images here, they are showcasing some of the issues related to infrastructure, because this is broken infrastructure. This is the municipal infrastructure now that is broken, that is not serving the people because there's no water coming. I had the pleasure of actually meeting Neil McLeod, who was behind the inception of such designs. He was the manager in Eskebheni Water and Sanitation. And I stood up in the class and I told me, I'm from this community, I've seen cholera, and these are the type of water systems that are in place. And his reasoning when he made the presentation was, when these water systems were in place, there was not much saturation in these places of houses. So now, because people are coming into the community, these tanks do not have the pressure to pump water into all households. This is his words. Housing saturation causes the water cutoff. It's just the literature that is used, even by politicians, to just say, we do not have pressured water. It costs too much to put pressure on pipes. Yet in our community, they're pumping this dam to another province, to another city, PMB. So definitely there is pressure that can be put in place in order to pump water into our households. So here are examples of a road construction. They're trying to put concrete here, or tar road, if you could put it like that. And here were just pipes laying bare on top. If you can also see the picture on the right, there are pipes here that are just exposed after a TLB was doing some grading on the ground or on the road before they did this. All right. Now, these are water infrastructures. These are meters. These poles here are indication where the water pipes are buried or traveling. Right. So people should stay away from these poles, because it signifies that there are there are water pipes buried under. But somehow things have gone south. Road construction, we're definitely seeing here that the pipes that were broken when people are constructing their homes, they may also break the pipes, not being aware of them. So it's all sorts of situations that are just happening, right? And then in the absence of tap water coming through these gray tanks, in the absence of this infrastructure, which is now broken down, And we're being told that due to housing saturation, they do not have the pressure to pump it into our households. The tankers have come in. I initially thought that it was a temporary situation, an emergency situation. They're going to fix our pipes. But this thing has been going on since 2010, if I'm not mistaken, in my community. Here in the image on your left, you are seeing people fetching water or drawing water from a tanker. Particularly in this image, there is a young girl using a baby basin to bath her child. And someone would ask, why would she even bring that if it's not an indication that she is using everything in the house to collect water? Because tankers have a schedule. They come once a week to your spot and give you water. So your challenge now is to store as much water as possible such that you last up until the next delivery date or day, right? So it is a sign of desperation. Clearly, when they were issuing tankers to our community, there was not a pre-assessment of needs in terms of do people have containers or not, such that they could store water, because obviously if you are giving people tankers, you are assuming they have containers to keep the water for bathing, for cooking, maybe for irrigation, and everything that they may need to sustain themselves. All right. In this particular day, so the image starts from the left, or the story starts from the left, and what you are seeing here on the right is them helping each other carry the basin to their house or to their home. It was a rainy day, and in doing this presentation, it occurred to me that, hey, some of the architecture of these homes do not have rain harvesting equipment, such as gutters, due to the nature of how they are designed. Roundavels, if you're looking at them right there. This is an image. I had to do it in color. the way the way it was, it just refused to be in black and white. But if you're seeing here, that's a roundabout, and it does not have gutters here or downpipes to catch rainwater. So rainwater could assist people further in their collection and storage of water on top of the tankers that exist. So it occurred to me that yes, some of the housing structures, the way they are designed, they do not support that. So people, they are forced to actually rely on tankers. If you're seeing there's an umbrella, it was a rainy day. I myself was carrying an umbrella as I was making these images, right? So I'm just showing ailments of the context in the form of the way people are living, their circumstances, even by housing structure, they are unable to collect water from the rain, and they can only rely on tankers. Another challenge is the amount of containers they have access to. Another challenge on top of that is they have to come to the street. Tankers do not come to houses individually to deliver water. You have to come to the street. So it becomes a chore, it becomes labor to fetch water. And then we speak about storage size. How many containers do you have? So the people that live close to the road, such as the family here on the right, they can benefit from this. They just have to move their containers next to the gate and draw a pipe from the tanker and put it in their containers. right? So you are seeing people here on my left. She's pouring water into 25-liter containers after filling these big barrels up in these pots. Now she's transporting the water to those containers. So all the time you will find that there has to be a container left behind at the house so that when we have filled up the other containers on the streets, we can ship the water to that container back in the household. You know, some other people that I've recently seen is that they will not do that. They will come with everything and they will be forced to use the water on the street. Maybe they will wash clothes, and then obviously by emptying that container through washing their clothes, then they have an empty container that they can move back to the house and then transport or transfer the water into once that container is empty. And you can see here in this image, there's a pot, a big pot, a basin. This is the great municipal tank that has also been unplugged. There's another stop right there. So here is one family, and here is a group of other 2 households that have made a stop there to say, hey, when a tanker passes by, fill our containers up, fill our containers up. So everything revolves around how much storage size you have or how many containers you have in order to store your water. And also you have to come to the streets in order to get it, because it's part of procedure, apparently, according to the tanker drivers, that they are not allowed to come to your household and give you water, especially on a JoJo tank. The permissible size is what you're seeing here. So if I have a JoJo, one of the biggest challenges, like when I even think about making a documentary, is like, what if I bring a JoJo to the street? What you gonna do? What are you gonna do? Are you gonna say no? Which then indicates that the problem is the size of the JoJo tank is not necessarily that you are prohibited to drive into someone's yard or into someone's household. What if I just bring you the JoJo tank to the streets? Are you gonna tell me no? If you tell me no, what are you saying? Are you saying I am limited in terms of the amount of water that I should have? Right? And then this is an image of one barrel. The way it was sitting by the roadside, it was so lonely. Okay, my caption here belongs to these images. I'm noticing. I forgot to edit this out, but this is the lone barrel. That's what I call it. This is a lone barrel. So the house that it belongs to is on your left, right? It was closed. I felt like anybody could have stolen this water. I felt like anybody could have messed with it, tipped it over if they don't like the people, for example. But he was just alone. And then for some odd reason in my framing of this image, there's a car driving away. And I just felt like there is symbolism in this image in terms of where we are geographically and the politics that govern our place, in terms of being isolated from the tap system and given this water tanker as our means to access water. I mean, it challenges even the definitions of what it means to have access to water if I have to rely on a tanker that could go on strike. If they are not being paid, well, I'm speaking about the drivers now. If there are contractual disputes, they could go on strike. Sometimes a week can pass without us seeing a tanker, and people descend down to the dam that is close to us just to have means of having water. So driving, this car driving away and just leaving this tanker, I mean, this barrel alone, I just felt like that's what has happened in terms of our leaders, is that abandonment, because giving us tankers is a form of tokenism. You are putting up a facade, you are putting up a front and saying you are helping us or you are making change, but are you making change when our livelihoods and how we wish to do things is in question? And what I mean by that is there are implications and challenges this form of water delivery poses in this community, as far as on the business side or self-employment side, as far as on the agricultural side of things, and as far as just having the quality of water to drink, right? So I just liked framing this image in this way. I just felt like I understand how the barrel feels like. Okay, so here's an image that I feel and I composed in a way. So this is pretty much the nose of a tanker. I don't know if I could call it a bumper or anything. But what was happening here was this lady was asking the driver to give him water in to this JoJo tank, which is not allowed. So how I framed it, it was almost as if I was sneaking myself to make this image as if I am snooping or as if I am eavesdropping on them by trying to put this to obscure the framing. But the more I moved to the left, my autofocus went away from that and focused on this. So there are ground procedures here that we do not put water on JoJo tanks. If you want us to put JoJo on a tank, you have to speak to a ward councillor and explain why, get a letter in order to do that. So those prohibitions and exceptions, we are buying water from tanker drivers when we want them to be put in our JoJo tank. And that's relationship is a mutual, it's beneficial for both of us. I get the water into the JoJo, you get your money as a driver. I could never report a tanker driver and saying he's selling me water because I need him. He is my means to access water at this stage. Why would I mess that up? But now, who can afford a tanker driver? And not everyone, when we are talking about personalities or relationships, not everyone is going to get along with a tanker driver. So basically, you could be denied to buy water. It might not even be a question of you have the money or not, but he just says no, just doesn't like you. It has happened to a friend of mine, to a friend of mine. He had the money or she had the money, but then it was like, no, I cannot go and pour water at that place. This water is for me, right? So you would try to have a contact list of tanker drivers. If I'm not finding this one, I'm calling the other one, right? That's our situations. So now I want to call this section symbols of water apartheid. By water apartheid, I mean a segregated system of water service delivery. If I go to Mhlanga, I go maybe to Amashu, to Zuma, all these urban contexts, they have taps. That is one deliberate way of delivering water. And then on my side, my community of Eskebheni and parts of Umzinyathi, the deliberate way to deliver water to us is through tankers. So that segregation, that discrimination surface as this is water apartheid. Because my question is, if this is not water apartheid and you are saying water infrastructure in forms of pipes and taps is expensive. How much are you spending on the payroll of drivers? How much are you spending in buying a new tanker? How much are you spending in putting petrol, maintenance? How much is that per month versus fixing a broken pipe and connecting it to the main pipes? So let's not joke around. This is deliberate. This is deliberate. You will find that if you are looking at one province specifically, like Limpopo or Gauteng, you will find that the government has allegedly spent hundreds of millions in just a period of 9 months. These are things I've read in news articles. Hundreds of millions in just a period of 9 months. So how much are we talking about in terms of just fixing broken pipes and making sure that people have a sustainable way of accessing water versus this way of tankers? Here, you are witnessing public JoJo tanks. So on top of giving you water on your little barrels, they have decided to install strategically JoJo tanks for the whole community to go to once you have ran out of water in your household on your own barrels, right? But now what this has created is theft. This is the same spot, if you are noticing. If you're looking at the tree, the fence, the stand, this is the same place. On my left, there is no JoJo on top of that stand. On my right, there is a JoJo. Today, that stand on the left is not even there. It's been stolen as well, right? So these JoJo tanks, to me, they symbolize apartheid. They symbolize that we have been neglected or isolated from the system of taps. So what I'm seeing here, similar to when I'm seeing a urine diversion toilet, I cannot see that in the suburbs. But once I see it, I know the type of location I'm at. I know that this place here, you do not have a flushing toilet. So these are symbols that signify geographically and politically where you stand. So these are just images of all the JoJo tanks that were placed in and around my community. And as I've mentioned, some do get stolen. This stand here is rusted. It's not even similar to this. I think somebody was trying to cut cost when they were installing this stand. This has a broken tap, so tankers do not fill in water. Same thing with this one. So you sometimes wonder that whoever installed this, are they even aware that there is no water in these things, or these things are not even functioning the way they're supposed to? I mean, I've had an interview with somebody from Umgeni Water, and they saying they know exactly the coordinates of these JoJo tanks, and they know when they're functioning or not, or under their impression, they feel that they are working sufficiently. So I think otherwise, or I've seen otherwise, because I live here and I am asking people and making images. A tanker, symbol of water apartheid, nothing more. A symbol of water apartheid. It is tokenism, the idea that we are helping you, we are giving you water, but actually, no, you're not helping me. You're actually putting me in a very sticky situation and predicament. Here, This is women, old women. She's 70 years old. Every time I speak to her, I say ma, and she corrects me. Hey, I'm not your mom, your grandmother. So the reason I'm even putting confidential here is they ask me when they allow me or when they welcome me to their farm. They plant spinach. In these images, it was season for cabbage. So I asked them questions. You can see there are JoJo tanks up there. There is a urine diversion toilet there. And again, I'm saying these things, they show you or they symbolize where you are, right? Or how the municipality treats you. Because now I might be going off topic, but these toilets were designed to actually even support or marketed rather. These toilets were marketed that they have benefits for agriculture, meaning take out the defecation or the feces and put them on the ground as fertilizers. But I always say, hey, why don't we empty out all the sewages and put them in the farms that supply ShopRite, Checkers, and Food Lovers Market, if that's okay. I bet you won't do that. But yet you advise people and sell them the narrative that that's what they should do when they are receiving these things, and you're selling them the benefits, quote unquote, the benefits of having these things. So here they told me, Thobani, please do not tell people how we access water. And I'm not going to speak on it because if I do, they clearly said it will compromise their position. But I put it in here just to explain the story like that. And if you are paying attention to my language, what has gone so wrong such that we can even speak about water like that? The secrecy of how I'm accessing water. What does that even mean? Does it mean that water is freely available? If somebody is going to ask you, please do not tell people how I access water. They were planting spinach here. I myself was assisting them. I gave the camera to somebody. They took pictures of me, but I lost them. So these are grandmothers. And I'm just also respecting their request of not saying that. These are Black farmers. They give jobs to young people because there are some foreigners that are actually assisting them when they're tilling the ground. This speaks a lot on just land ownership and water economics, the importance of water, even for people that are trying to make an income in one form or another. All right. Here, this is my place. This is us trying to put concrete on a sewage pit to cover the top. Here you can see a house being, well, it was constructed, is not finished. These things need water when it comes to mixing concrete. Can people now have choices of saying, am I going to have water to drink or am I going to have water to build a house? Are you going to be able to afford to spend water in a concrete construction using these small barrels? So there is a limitation of water access that is also detrimental in people even building concrete structures. I like this story. I was scared for my life. I went to another side of my community that I'm not familiar with, and this man here, he lives right here. So he was going back to his house, and then he sees this woman and he helps her to carry the barrel to where they're gonna get water. So once he sees me taking or making an image, he just puts it down, says, "What are you doing?" I swear I thought he was gonna punch me. And then I said, "I'm just taking an image." He says, "Why?" I had to explain now. Right. And then he said, "You're supposed to ask me for permission and everything like that." And then I was like, "Okay, you can ask me to delete the photo, but I don't think necessarily I have to ask you for permission to tell you I'm taking a picture because I'm here. I'm not running. I wasn't hiding. You can see me." And then I made an argument about saying protesters, when you see them in the newspapers, are you saying that that person went around and asked everybody for permission? So if you don't want me to showcase your image, you can just let me know right now. And then he had to ask me, why am I even doing this? What's my motive and everything? And then I explained. And then we became friends. He ended up telling me how he lost his wife and how he does not like the place, what he thinks about the water situation, in relation to how even councillors are benefiting from these tankers. That was his assumption. So I'm just saying, or putting this out there in terms of like, even when you're making images in a place, it's also just important to like respect people's position and how they feel when you're making images about them. It might be for them, but they do not know them. They do not know that. But it's also just important to just talk about and explain why you're doing everything. One of the things that have disturbed me in just also just looking at this is just how family structures are also affected by this. What you're seeing on the left is pretty much everyone, like kids, little kids, participating in the on the collection of water on the tankers. Everybody is here because water is a life source in this family. This is like morning. You can see people are in gowns. They may be uncomfortable when I'm making these images. But on your left is like participation of the whole family, young and old. And then on the right, what you are seeing, this is one family as well. That's the husband of this lady. She's late today. I think she passed away 2021, if I'm not mistaken. So they are going to church. They have 3 children. They are going to church. So 2 are going to church and the husband, then the wife has to remain behind. Why? Because the tanker does not necessarily have a specific time that it comes to deliver water. So if you miss out on the water delivery, you're gonna have a trouble for the entire week. So now people are divided. A family would normally go together to church, and now they can't because somebody has to stay behind and collect water. So, I was pretty much like saddened almost when I saw this. Like, that's how deep this water apartheid even affects people. Labor, family structure, the inconvenience of your time. Because even if you wanted to go to town, you can't. You have to stay and fetch the water first before you go anywhere. Right. So yeah, this is the work that I do, and this is my last slide. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Thobani.